All right, we are recording. So technically we are live. And Christine, I'm going to let you choose which countdown you like better. I'm going to play 3. Okay. Very quickly. Here's 1. Sorry, that's not it. Oh, here it is. Okay. Here's 2. And here's 3.
I like
Which
number
do you like?
3.
You like number 3? Okay, let's do it. We're live.
Like I chose number 3, the countdown with laughter, because when we hear people laugh, we tend to laugh as well. So that's fun.
There's I was learning Canva, and I was able to create a countdown there. And the reason why I used that kind of laughing track is because there's a voice in there that sounds like my brother Matt. I don't know if you heard it, Matt. It's like I don't know. It's like it sounds like I was like, okay, I'll use that. And so yeah, that's cool. Pretty cool.
I didn't know that. That's good. My laughter is famous in the family. I like it.
I'll show you real quick. I just hear your tone in there. Hear your tone.
It probably is in there. You're right. I like it.
Yeah.
I like it.
All right. So to our millions of fans out there on the global earth, welcome to the People Who Move podcast. I still feel weird calling it a podcast, but this is we're here. I'm Adam Zembruski. That's my brother Matt Zembruski. We've got Christine Smith from Christine Smith Consulting, or CS Consulting 101. We are on episode number 45. Very excited to be here, and today is so much like the hotel industry. And Christine, we're going to talk about what you've done in the hotel industry and stuff. The meaning at the property level. One reason why people love it so much is because it's never the same. People, the biggest challenge that people have, it's never the same. It's a little bit chaotic. 1 out of 10 days, maybe 9 out of maybe 6 or 7 out of the days are just like really cool and fun and good. You're working together. Then a couple days are kind of like either a little bit better than normal or a little bit not so great as normal, right? And so I have an opinion that I've shared many times, and I still don't think that we're really doing a good job at it. But the fact that LinkedIn, I embraced LinkedIn from the very beginning when I became a regional director of operations back in 2007 or 8, and I was able to connect with people that I worked with from like 10 years earlier, and I've stayed in contact with a lot of those people since then. And I love LinkedIn. I just think it's the coolest thing. And when we talk about our industry, in that, we say we have a staffing crisis, right? We say that we have we're short people, or we have like a kind of like a branding crisis of like, who are you? Like, are you a third-party management company? Are you Marriott or Hilton? And so there's like a personality type of a crisis also. And so I think the answer for me, it usually funnels right back to LinkedIn, because I think it's a beautiful platform for people like us to meet, get to know each other. Many of the People Who Move guests that we've had on, I've never seen in person before. And we meet on LinkedIn, and Matt shaking his head, the same thing. And so what does that remind you of? The hotel industry. And the reason why we get in here, we meet new people every day. So what I think is cool about this episode, bro, is the fact that I don't know Christine. She doesn't know me. We I think it's a pretty cool thing because Christine, I noticed you started liking some stuff that I was posting on LinkedIn. You made comments and we were being kind of funny together. I was like, man, this is really cool. I feel like I made a new friend. Right. And I think that's the coolest thing. And so thank you for engaging on LinkedIn.
Mhm.
I really don't know much about you. And I think that for our millions of fans out there, they're going to watch us get to know each other. And so what attracted you to the post that I was making, and tell us a little bit about yourself. I don't know, say whatever you want.
I love that analogy of comparing the hotel industry and LinkedIn. That is a wonderful perspective to consider. And it kind of reminds me of an a story that I had at Hilton, and I'll maybe share some more on that. But as far as engagement on LinkedIn, you know, in the beginning of my career, I would kind of worry and fester of how do I use social media to engage, right? Like I would find myself posting and engaging, and it actually didn't feel good. Like inside, it didn't feel good. And I would have to self evaluate. I'm like, what am I doing? I'm not being authentic here, right? And so over
Ooh,
time, I started noticing some trends, right? Feedback from people and so on and so on. And so it took some, personal work development on my end to change my mindset. And so as I've done the work with myself, I noticed obviously inevitably I started changing how I engaged on LinkedIn. And, I don't know about yourself, but I have had several mentors and business coaches in my life, and I would follow their leads. And, they're in business to teach people and make money that way. And we can either listen to it or choose to live our own lives, right? Not everything's going to resonate with everybody the same. And so
that's interesting.
I would take bits and pieces of what they taught me, but then put my own spin on it. And like you said, Adam, you said, Christine's engagement is authentic. That's because it has to be. If it's
Yeah, and
forced, you can feel it.
yeah, that's really I heard you or I saw that you wrote that on there. When it's forced, you feel it. And so yeah, I've been independent, call it, since about 2016, 17, and I went back to work for a couple really great management companies, hotel management companies, and I do, projects here and there, but I'm always out there looking for work. You know what I mean? Like I'm always out there saying like, "Hey, listen, I can help you with X, Y, and Z. Here's a
Mhm.
product I created for you, or let's work together." And uh, when you really touched me when what you just said about that, because when I first went, I'm all on LinkedIn, right? But really, when I look back, and anybody can do this, if you look back on my posts when I was first kind of getting my feet in the wading in the waters of looking for business or sharing my ideas, man, I was not being myself. I was I was being almost like forcibly judgmental,
Yeah.
almost like thinking like I had to say something provocative. I had to like put a hashtag like I made one 5 years ago, and this is before COVID. And I said, I made a bunch of posts that said, um, it's not help wanted, particularly for the hotel and restaurant industry. It's no longer help wanted, it's change needed.
Mm.
And I didn't have, and I still don't really articulate it in the best way, but that came across as a very negative thing. And so when I'm out there looking for jobs or I'm looking for work, they would refer back to posts that I made, and they said like, "Listen, you sound pretty judgmental about us, even though I'm not like naming them or anybody else." And I said, "You know what? That's great feedback." And then once I matured in my, side businesses and stuff, and I said, "You know what? I got to speak my mind." And I actually think it's hurt me from getting hired sometimes,
Mm.
uh, or to work with some people, and those are the people that I found that I don't really wanna work with anyway.
That's right.
You know what I
That's right.
mean?
I was
Like,
going to say, did it really hurt you? Probably not. It probably helped you and saved you in the long run.
yeah, in the very long run, because sometimes that takes a little while, right? So, yeah, thank you so much for saying that. And it is something that you can't really put a number on. It's something that you feel, and I really felt you. You know, and Evelyn Barnes Willingham. You know, she's been on our show 4 or 5 times. That's another example. I've never met her in person. I found that she was posting her Friday dance videos. She's the hotel general manager, Hilton. She's now an area general manager. Just phenomenal. She has her own following, and she's really cool. Hey, Evelyn. And so I connected with her because she was posting every Friday. They would have a little dance party, you know, a little get together with her team, and she was posting that on LinkedIn in 2018 and 2019. I said, that's really cool because she's showing what actually happens at in the field level. And it's not this outside area of saying like, oh, it's so grueling. You got to work 18-hour days and it's all this stuff. And like, I was like, this is what it's like most of the time. It's fun and interactive. And so been friends with her for many years, and she's been on here. You know, that's just one example of our, like, the meaning and purpose of this podcast. And so, tell us, how did you have you always worked? Is it hotels, restaurants, event management, sales, operations? Where'd you get started?
I love this question, and I answer it slightly different every time someone asks. I have been in the hospitality and tourism industry since I was 14. I am now in my late 30s and started in restaurants. And then over time it evolved. I went on to college. I traveled the world. When I went to college for hospitality and tourism management, I said, you know what, Christine, what else can you really learn? Like, you've been in this industry, you know it like the back of your hand. Why are you going to go spend money and do all the things, right? Mindset in your 20s. And
Mm.
so I go into college and I'm realizing, holy cow, I am learning so much. Loved the hospitality and tourism industry. And that is when the program, and a light bulb went off for me. And I said, I want to be in more in the development side of it. I
Mm.
have this natural gift of understanding human behavior. And long story short, I got out of college and transitioned from
And you
restaurants
still agreed to be on this. You still agreed to be on this podcast when you understand my human behavior. Like, I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
no, that's part of it. That's you gotta learn how to work with human behavior on a
Who is
day-to-day
this cuckoo head? Yeah.
basis. So
Go ahead.
anyway, went into property management. I started as a live-in host where I was hosting guests in my house. Loved it. I had people from the UK coming to visit. We made friends. You know, by the time they left my house, we were best friends and we were crying, and my heart was full. And I was like,
Wow. So this
yes.
this is before Airbnb exploded,
And
probably, right? Or
before it exploded, but I started in 2014 and did that for 5 years as a live-in host, and that gifted me not only a fulfillment but also financially speaking, obviously, to travel the world. And so I had everything. I had all my needs met, my emotional needs, all the things.
that's really cool.
And then
Are you where in the country are you, Christine?
I am in Asheville, North Carolina.
Oh, I don't even think I knew that. We're only a couple hours away. I'm in Charlotte.
I'm in
Amazing.
Boston. A little up the road.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
for our millions of fans out there, if you don't know Asheville, it's just like it's an awesome but fairly new place to go for global tourism. It's
Yes.
it's in the Blue Ridge Mountains. This is not if Asheville's Convention and Visitors Bureau wants to sponsor us, I'll talk to you more about it. But it's a really cool place. So that's you were in a location where people want to be,
Yeah.
travelers, and you took advantage of that. It's like 10 years ago. So keep on going. That's awesome.
Yeah. So, and then I got into, I was doing it solo in my house, but then I found myself switching into property management. And I was working for I've done small, like, boutique bed and breakfasts, and then I've worked for, larger luxury brand, property management companies, and this was in Florida. I just moved to Asheville 2 years ago, and so I found myself jumping from one, like, bed and breakfast to a large property management company and all the things, and my skills and my awareness were evolving, like, very rapidly, and how do I put this? I realized my skills and I said, "You know what? I'm not working for anybody else anymore. I actually wanna help these people." I created my own business, and it came from a passion, and I might start to get emotional.
Okay.
It came from seeing people struggling out
Mm.
of fear. Like, we make decisions in life based on fear, and we don't have to. Just like you were saying, like, bringing those things up, being yourself, being authentic. And I was watching these badass, excuse my language, these badass people run awesome businesses, but they weren't seeing their gaps of opportunities. I would watch them run around like a chicken with their head cut off, and I'm like, why are you doing this? Are you trying to, they would lie in front of their clients and homeowners just to get a sale. And I'm like, "What are you guys doing?" And, like, like, I would see this very clearly, but they weren't, right? And I don't blame them. 'em. They're in their business day to day, they're
Mm.
busy, maybe they've never had anybody strong enough and to stand up to them and be like, shake them and be like, "Guys, you don't have to do it this way,
That's
okay?
interesting what you just said. You don't have to do it this way.
No." And it's so easy. I don't blame them.
Yeah.
Like, I've done it myself, like, jumping from job to job, trying to figure things out. We are all trying to figure it out. But the thing about it is I found my passion and I listened to my intuition and I followed it.
That's awesome.
I no longer live out of fear. I don't
Beautiful.
I don't chase money. I chase the passion. And some people are in it for money, and good for you. I don't blame you. Good for you. We all got to live and make a living.
Sure.
But
So what
then
do you
there's
Yeah.
people, yep.
what do you do now, Christine? Is it consulting for that
Mhm.
industry, or is it doing some property management and some more stuff? Because you just went through a whole great journey that you got to
Yes.
get here. So leading with passion is beautiful. So what is your passion, and how does that play into what you do now?
So my passion is people first, and then I love to travel myself. So it's funny, I say I created, and this is true, I created my business for you. I'm talking to Adam, I'm talking to Matt, I'm talking to people that are listening. And what I mean by that is I do the work I do and I bring the skills I have to the table and teach these leaders to do better in their business because I care about us who travel and I want all of us to have a better experience. We may not see directly, we won't as travelers, on the traveler's perspective, we won't see directly what's going on behind the scenes of that owner, that operator, but indirectly we get the effects.
Oh yeah, big time.
The desire to travel to different worlds, to do it globally or even regionally,
Yes.
to experience different things that one hasn't experienced. I don't think that we, as in our industry, do a very good job at putting that in front of even high school students to say, you can start working at a hotel or a restaurant just like you did at 14. You're working at a restaurant, and it provides you with an income level that you're comfortable with enough to go
Right.
travel.
Right.
And uh, sometimes people can go travel and work for different companies internationally with
Mhm.
a basis of experience and service, right? And
Mhm.
with the same kind of passions that you have that are very genuine and authentic, and that uh, clearly there's when you say human behavior, uh, there's a connection there. I don't have a 4-year degree, I have I worked at a big, Four Diamond Resort casino up in Connecticut. Shout out to Foxwoods, giving my first management position. I try to thank them as much as I can, along with some other groups. Um, the and I was able to work a job, get paid an income. Now, when I think about when people ask me a question like, "Hey, what got you into the industry?" What kept you in the industry? I think the second question is more important. What allowed you to stay and sustain? I actually haven't done a lot of travel myself. I've worked in many locations, mostly east of the Mississippi in the hotel industry, um, and different cities and different destinations and things like that. But I am a time travel geek. If there's a movie or a book about time travel, I'm going to read it, I'm going to watch it, and I just absolutely find it fascinating.
Mhm.
And it took me a lot of years to really put this together, but travel, it was like if I was working at a hotel every day, I was meeting people from around the world, and they were telling me their stories, and I would ask them about their lives and things like that. And I started to think and realize, I was like, wow, I'm doing my own little time travel while just staying in this one spot. I'm meeting these people and they have their own histories. And so I was bringing that global travel, uh, my desire for that, I guess maybe my motivation to experience other cultures. They were coming to me at like my hotel. And I thought that was pretty cool. And it's also the opposite. It's like, I think today for people that are thinking about, call it the service industry, but particularly with hotels, right? Hotels are a little bit different because the people don't go to a hotel mostly to just stop in and leave. You're there for 40 plus hours. You're one and a half night stay, and you get to meet people from around the world. And so when you said that about what was, am I right in kind of putting words in your mouth a little bit, but that your motivation in this industry has mostly been through human interaction and people and like the behaviors and like it seems like you're very curious about people, and that's also kept me in this industry too. Does that make sense?
Yes, you didn't put words in my mouth. That's right on the money.
Okay, good. Yeah. The we so bro Matt is he's up in Boston, and some of we call this the People Who Move podcast, but also it's the Worlds Colliding podcast a little bit, and I've added that to our little screen here and stuff like that in our share because uh, love connects us, of course, as brothers, right? And our parents and our shared experiences, but we are in very different industries, right? And I actually think it's the same industry. It's coming together, but with Matt, with technology and software development and agile leadership, and Matt has adapted and pivoted several times in his life and career, the same way that a lot of people do in hotels and hospitality and restaurants. And so, bro, does this I don't know, conversation ring true to you too?
Yeah, it does. I always the question I asked you, Christine, is about your passion and so forth. And I think that's the real. I remind people often, and I think we're all the same in this respect, but not everybody is the same in the world in this respect. Is I see the world through a lens of people.
Yes.
So there's a filter of people on there. So when I'm going through and like this morning, I was talking with some leaders in a large financial services company and about their organization. They have part of their organization is like 150 people or so in it. But when I go in to coach that organization and help them level up their leaders and teams, I start by meeting the people and watching the people and observing the people and see who those strongest influencers are. Not from a position of authority, but more from like an authenticity, as you mentioned a couple of times, Christine. It's if you have the right people in the right places, and they're empowered to influence a group of people or a hotel or a restaurant, then everything works out well. Just like so, everything you're saying rings very true to me, Christine. I think it's awesome that you have continued to follow your heart and your passion for people, and you've let that be the lead, and then what you're doing, go along for the ride, which I think is awesome, because a lot of people do the opposite. And a lot of my early career was just get the job, just do the corporate stuff, and then and then your needs and your family's needs are secondary to that, right? You're getting the job, you get the money, whatever. But when you get into it, it's about what you're passionate about, what you're here to do, what your purpose is on earth, and your purpose is beautiful, helping others and seeing some of the gaps in some of these high performers that you're talking about, and what they can do to improve their lives so they can be happier and more authentic and make a bigger impact in the world. So yeah, everything you said is beautiful, Christina. I'm excited to meet you here and talk with you more.
Christine,
do you mind if I say something to Matt or ask a question
Please.
to Matt?
Yeah, go for it.
So
Yeah,
you're on the tech side. I'm on
Yep.
the relationship side, but the relationships go into all of departments of the business, operations, training, hiring, all the things. And then there comes the tech piece, the tools that the service providers and operators need. So I actually consult on that side as well. It's like, okay, you may think you need these tools. You may not need those tools. Can you save money in other areas and not use these tools? Obviously, there's a time and place for certain tools to be bought into, right? I understand that. And there's that psychological side of it, right? And so if the person's not optimized themselves, and then they're scatterbrained and going into all these departments and thinking they need something, when in actuality they may not. I mean, no one, like, if people listening with businesses hear me say this, they might go, well, Christine, stop it, but that's just the truth, right? And so not only that, but it's like, do you actually know how to use that technology?
I wrote a newsletter blog post about the heist of critical thought in our industry.
Yeah.
And there were many very powerful companies that didn't like what I had to say, and these are the SaaS companies, the software as a service companies, and these are companies that I that have leaders that I've worked with side by side. We've implemented these systems together, but over the last 15 years, I'm not blaming them, but I'm blaming just what you just said, automation.
Yeah.
Right? It's like you might not need this is just last week, we were talking about this on last week's episode. You might not need a scheduling software. You might only need an Excel spreadsheet, which is, and I'm not like saying that I'm old and don't use technology. I love technology. I love technology and how it helps us. But a lot of that, but I also do identify the fact that with automation and inputting less from a human perspective, then it spurts out a number that tells you this is how many hours you should schedule next week. That's okay and that's helpful, but where's the critical thought? Where's the creative thought to be like, is that actually the amount of hours that I should be scheduling? I might be able to schedule more. I might be able to schedule people that are making that need more hours, for example, that are like, what about the human side of it? Saying this person's only getting 32 hours. She has been asking me for 40 hours for like 3 weeks now. So it takes thought, and a lot of this automation, I do think it's been a heist of that critical thought. And I think that we need to be careful about that. We need to be careful about how we do that in the industry. And technically, say hotel general managers, who I really consider to be the past, the current, and the future of our hotel industry. If they're not challenged to think and to communicate to their people to think and challenge these automated systems, then that's going to be a problem for knowledge. It's going to be a problem for role models. And so I'm going to come full circle and say that what you talked about, Christine, about fear, and that the fear keeps us from maybe moving forward or making a decision or to be authentic, to be our true selves, seems like a very personal thing to you, and it is to me also. That's what's kept me, challenge myself to stay independent. The and bro, this, as I'm thinking and talking here, this actually has a lot to do with the reasons that we even started this podcast. With we didn't even have a name for it, Christine, for like 30 weeks. We were just calling the no name whatever, and we're here having a conversation with people who move. Right, it has some history there, but really at the end of the day, I think that all industries can do a better job at highlighting our role models and identifying our role models. And what you said earlier, I'll get emotional sometimes, okay, like I might right now, but listening to you touches me, and being able to have you here with your face and your voice, and it's going to be on a continuous loop on LinkedIn and YouTube and on our channel, where you can share it with others to say, this is who I am. And I think it's super important for role models. I mean, this is why I didn't even mean for this to be a segue, but I'm going to make this into a segue if you guys don't mind. But on my wall back there, those are my, celebrity role models. And one of them is Conan O'Brien. And there's a reason. I did meet him. I met him at that Four Diamond Casino Resort at Foxwoods. And he knew I liked to talk. I did meet with him for like 40 seconds, right? And he told me that I said, I would love to have a talk show like you. And this is around the time that I met him. I'm going to show a clip that I have shared here. And he talks about, so I want to know what you guys think about it. And anyone that's watching this, please make a comment. But he talks about the transition that he had. So this takes place in, I think, 1995. It's 1 year after he started the Conan O'Brien show, or late night with those different names with Conan O'Brien. He's talking to Tom Snyder, who's a also a talk show host guy. And there's a caller that asks him, hey, Conan, how did you handle the transition from being a writer from Saturday Night Live to being a writer and a performer? Now, this is your talk show. And so I'm going to play that real quick, and then we'll talk about it, and then we'll just spend a few minutes. It's only like a 90-second clip, so enjoy it. I did share this on LinkedIn, by the way, because I think it's interesting to what we are talking about. Mm-hmm. Let me share my screen. Yeah, I'm getting pretty good at this. Huh, bro?
Looks good.
All right, so Dave from obviously Dave from Florida is calling. So I think you'll be able to hear it and everything. Give me a high sign if you can't hear it.
What is the biggest transition for you?
Turn it up.
Going from writing to production and on air.
The biggest transition in terms of like the whole year, what's been the biggest change? I think.
Or like, was it tough for you? I mean, writing is one thing, performing
Sure.
is something else,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a knack to it, as you now know.
Yes.
And what was the hardest part of acquiring that groove?
Well, I had been performing. Actually, I hadn't been performing a lot on TV, but
Right.
I'd been performing the entire 8 years that I was in Los Angeles. I've been working on it. But I think the biggest adjustment is that when you're writing, there are times when you're just not into it, you don't feel like
Right.
it, and you're able to walk away from it for 3 hours, 4 hours at a time and come back to it.
Right.
Well, that's not the case. I mean, the beauty of these shows is that they're every day. And you can feel like it, you cannot feel like it, and you have to you do your show. And if you walk out there and say, folks, I don't really feel like it tonight, I'm just a little under the weather, and
Drive safely on the
I have
way
a bit
home.
of a cold, so why don't you just, you're not going to last. You have to There were times this winter where I was sick. I got pretty sick for a couple of days there, and you can't go out there and say I'm sick tonight.
No, you
know?
can't. No.
And you just go out there and you do your show. And I think that's the biggest difference, is that it's every day. It's 5:30, and when I do my warm up for the show, it's a very interactive warm up, very kinetic
With your audience.
with my audience, and I sing and do stuff with
Really?
them. Yeah, and this is something that you have to feel like it every day, and that's a muscle. That's a muscle that you build.
There you go, Dave. I'm glad you.
Right. I love that he calls it a muscle. I love that whole clip. And when I was just watching it, because I watch a lot of old talk show clips of like Conan O'Brien, David Letterman, particularly watching Norm Macdonald, who's like a hero to me. He's on there too with a word called menophagismo, which means be yourself. Don't let your fears keep you from doing anything in life. And so I thought that was cool. So what did that touch you at all, Christine? That clip?
It did. And, it goes hand in hand with the fear thing. So I have this philosophy that fear comes up for us when we don't love ourselves. When we don't love ourselves, and there's a space of misunderstanding. And so that might not, at surface level, when I say that, in translation to business, people may not understand that right away. But when you're able to sit with that and really explore that space of self that you're not, that is where the magic happens. And
when you say
this is how-
misunderstanding, you mean misunderstanding yourself.
Yeah, either misunderstanding self of why you make the decisions and choices that you make, or whether it be a misunderstanding in a conversation, whatever the situation may be. And that is, I've learned this from mentors in my own life and doing my own work, as I mentioned before. Bringing up the things that we're not talking about is where change happens.
Could not agree more. I love that. Can I quote
And
that?
I'm
later?
no longer scared to bring that stuff up. Oh my God. I would love to walk in a room and go, all right, guys, I kind of feel like someone wants to say something and no one's saying anything. Or I feel like you don't feel good in this conversation. Do you want to talk about it? Well, we don't say that we're scared to say that generally. I'm not. And I'm not going to sugarcoat it for you. You want help, you got to do the work.
Yeah, and that's where the role models come in. I think that, and I'll bring up John St. Omer also. John St. Omer is a hotel general manager. I was managing a hotel, a Courtyard Marriott in New Jersey, and he was also managing a hotel in Courtyard at a Courtyard in New Jersey. We were in the same competitive set, and he was like a god. Like they were like, I was new to that area, and they're like, you'll never be able to have a hotel like that because, just talk to John. So I initially thought that he was like very intimidating. Now this is 20 plus years ago and, or 20 years ago. And we've stayed friends. He's an amazing human being. And, the more people that stay connected with John, their life gets lifted. And I just know that. I don't need statistics to say that. He's told stories here on this podcast about there's a twins that he was working with 20 years ago, young twins that were from like a challenged background. He hired them, gave them a chance, and they grew in their career. And then he's now 20 years later John is managing a big hotel in the Philadelphia area. And he hires I think it's a front desk agent, and she's doing great. And then 3 weeks later, she says, I want to introduce you to my husband. and it's one of those twins. And that twin owns his own business. He started his own trucking company or something like that. And so when role models are recognized and talked about, and I'm including you in that, Christine, and hear your voice and to see what you're saying, it inspires other people to do the same thing and to speak up in meetings when they are feeling intimidated. And that's that fear. I felt that fear, and that's like a stab to the heart how much I listen, or I heard what you said about that, because when you are feeling like your voice or opinions don't matter because you were told or dismissed in a passive aggressive way, thanks for your feedback. That's very valuable. And they're not writing anything down. And when that happens all the time, and all you want to do is just improve things, the fear sets in. And that, like, well, if I keep on speaking my voice, I'm going to sound annoying. I'm going to sound like I'm complaining, and nobody wants to hire a complainer. So maybe I just won't say anything. That's no good.
Not good.
Yeah, that's so true. Do you mind if I share a story?
Please.
When I was working at the bed and breakfast, it was a mom and pop, small family owned in Grayton Beach. If anyone's listening, for the people that are listening, Grayton Beach is a very sacred, low key beach town. It is just, when you think of old Florida, oh my gosh, just beautiful. And so I worked at this bed and breakfast, and I came in, and it was the son who managed it for his parents, and then their cousin who was the other manager. And I worked with them for three years. And during that 3 years, when I first started work there, me and the female manager, her name is Stephanie, I'll call her out. She knows me. We're good friends now. Anyways, she was in this state of fear. She didn't love herself. You would just see her react. Customers saw it, but I saw the side of her that she wasn't able to see herself. And I was just naturally being me. I never called her out. I never made fun of her. My mindset was like, I can help this person, and I'm going to be me. I'm going to naturally be me. And she wanted to quit so many times because she was so unhappy, but she was staying in the business because she felt like she had a chunk of money coming her way. So she stayed and toughed it out because she knew that she had a lot of money coming to her when they were going to sell it. That's the only reason why she stayed. And I'm not saying anything here that she went back up, because she knows it's true. Okay. But by the end of it, I finally left. That was when I was like, I'm going to start my own business. Right. And so I said, bye, Stephanie. Nice to know you. I love you. I'll see you later, but I'm out. And so before I left, she had put her resignation in.
That's great.
And she looked at me and she says, Christine, you don't know how much you did for me.
Wonderful.
Changed her life. She's now at a job paying less, and she's happier than she's ever been.
That's awesome.
Let's part of this also this relationship building of what we're doing here is creating things that have tangible value together, rather than just talking about it, which no offense to all the other podcasts out there, just in our industry, there's a lot of talk without creation, right? And so, or without challenging conventional thought. And so let's, you said you're still in touch with Stephanie?
Yeah.
Let's challenge ourselves, and you can challenge me. Let's jump on a phone together, the three of us, and let's create something. Let's just do it. We don't have to do it on the podcast or anything like that. Let's create something.
She would love it.
Yeah, let's do it. We can write a training, that you guys own. Like we can do so much. And so I'm going to make a note of that, and we're going to do it. And if I don't contact you in the next, say, 5 days to say, we're doing this, let's create something, then you need to contact my brother, Matt, and say, Adam is not being accountable to what he said he was going to do. And that's what I love my brother so much for helping me create stability and consistency, and to hold me accountable for a lot of these different things. And so
we all crave accountability. even if we don't want to admit it, we crave it. So I
Yeah.
love that.
Yes. Yeah. I never said that to myself, to be honest, Christine. I never said that I crave accountability, but I did. But once I started saying it, it opened me up to being like, yes, I want to be held accountable. I want to, I'm responsible,
Mm.
Yeah.
but like, please tell me that if I forget to do something, I want an email from you or whoever to say like, hey, you said that you're going to do this on Monday. You didn't do it. What's up?
Mhm.
That's accountability. You don't have to
Hey,
sugarcoat it.
so something funny. My phone won't keep a charge, and I'm at 3%. How much time we got left on this?
We got to wrap up. I got to run.
We'll wrap up. We're right at our 45-minute time frame. So Christine, this was so great getting to know you. Didn't even know that we were just a couple hours away. Let's create some stuff. Shout out to all of our people who moved that have been here. This is episode number 45. We're not going to stop. We initially said that we're going to do 10, right, bro?
That's right.
And we're going to keep on going. And all of this, time is money, time is passion, time is love. So thank you for spending the time with us, Christine, sincerely. You
I can
really
talk about
moved,
this all day long.
well, you moved me. You really did. And
Thank you.
we're seeing a new relationship bloom. So thank you so much sincerely for spending that time with us.
Thank you so
Matt,
much, Christine.
Matt and Adam, thank you so much. And I'm glad. Thank you for that feedback and telling me that I moved you, that you were being open, and I appreciate that. And I'm always here to hold that space.
Yeah, I almost wanted to fall back in my chair a little bit. So you moved me. You did. And thank you for that.
Yeah.
We'll talk
All
to you all
right, guys.
soon. Thank you.
Talk to you soon. Thank you.
Bye.